Hello, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Break. It's Steve Barrett here, the editorial director, PR Week, with you another episode. We've got Matt Rizzetta here, who is the chairman of North 6th Group, and looking forward to chatting about PR and a bit of soccer as well, Matt, or football as we call it. But welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Steve, great to see you. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Now, listen, when you were on our podcast 2 or 3 years ago, it was Matt from North 6th Agency, and now it's Matt from North 6th Group. So the empire has grown in the past few years. Tell us about that. Tell us what's been happening, and tell us what are the other pieces of the puzzle that are now part of a group rather than just North 6th Agency.
Sure. Yeah. So we, about a little under 2 years ago, Steve, we started to think about investing in companies, and not just investing cash capital. What we saw was through the PR firm, through N6A, we had just built an incredible back office. There was a lot we could offer in the forms of strategic value. Fortunately, I was able to, I had all the battle scars to prove, the entrepreneurial experience, and a lot of founders were looking for advisory services. So we started to invest in companies, and the common thread was passion, purpose, progress. It had to be businesses, especially at that stage in my career. It had to be businesses we were passionate about. They were purposeful. They were progressive in some way. So sort of as a symbolic first investment, we went out and we bought an ownership interest in an Italian football club, which was something that was just always near and dear to my heart. I'm super passionate about Italy and soccer, and I was very close with my grandparents, and my grandfather was a diehard soccer fan and an immigrant, and just so I thought it would almost bring good luck to the group to make our first investment in a football club, and here we are, just under a year and a half later, and we have 8 companies under the group, North 6th Group, spread across sports, entertainment, media, marketing, and obviously N6A, North 6th Agency, is our legacy core, bread and butter services business that lives as one of the 8 companies.
Yeah, and we'll chat about the soccer angle as well, because I think you invested in you owned a 4th division club, and then you've made another investment in a much higher profile club, Ascoli, in recent times. So we'll get into that, because I'm certainly interested, even if the rest of our readers aren't, and we could see your nice football top there. But tell us a bit more about the business that you've also made. Tell us about the arrangement you've got with News Direct, which is a tech vendor in the sort of comms tech space, rapidly growing. What's the arrangement there, and how's that work?
So we owned a minority interest in News Direct. Obviously, when we were looking at, we really wanted to build a diversified portfolio, and rather than be passive investors, we wanted to be active operators, in some way, shape, or form, supporting the appreciation of the asset and the growth of the asset that we're investing. So News Direct, obviously, that's a business that's super synergistic to our core agency units. It's a PR service. It's an incredible press release distribution, news distribution platform. And we wanted to get into SaaS, software as a service. We thought was a investment sector and category that we wanted to invest in. So I figured, and we figured, as a team, what better sort of first SaaS investment to get into than a SaaS business that was, focused on PR and marketing and services that we could sort of understand. And that's the arrangement we worked out with News Direct. So for News Direct, it's been a great partnership. We're handling all of their marketing, PR, of course. They're sharing some of our office space here in New York City. And obviously, Greg and Chuck, I'm really close with the executive team over there, and I'm lending a lot in the form of, advisory support, fundraising support, and they're doing great. It's been a great partnership so far.
That's an interesting connection, having an agency with an ownership stake in a vendor like that. So I was going to ask if you're doing their marketing and PR, because I guess that's part of the arrangement. It's almost like an enhanced arrangement, isn't it, with a client? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Steve, I think, sort of underscores the thesis, which in general was there's just so much cash out there right now that what we were finding was a lot of these founders and entrepreneurs sort of looked at cash as a commodity. And what they really wanted was they wanted advisory services. They wanted some kind of value creation, that cash, they could find cash. But what they couldn't find necessarily was some sort of unique strategic service that was going to add to the asset value. So that's really what we're doing is, we're leveraging really what we built in 12 years, and, which is a skill set across marketing and PR and, entrepreneurship and culture. And we're trying to do that in a way where we're lending value to assets that we're passionate about and that we want to help grow. And News Direct was definitely one of those.
So tell us a bit more about how North Six, the agency, has developed. When we were chatting before, it was cannabis and cybersecurity back then. Are those still big themes? And also the leadership has migrated a little bit with Daniela Mancinelli taking over as CEO at the start of this year. So talk a bit about how the agency part of the group has developed.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, N6A is doing great. You know, and first off, I just want to say, I mean, that we would never have been in a position to do what we did in terms of this pivot had we not had just an incredible team. I mean, I was really blessed. I mean, we had an incredible management and leadership team, and we had scaled N6A to a point where, you know, I could sort of take a step back and think about big picture and, you know, diversification and getting involved in other businesses. And obviously N6A being the anchor, you know, unit, but we could sort of start to branch off and extend our reach into other types of businesses with diversification in mind. And the only reason we were even able to do that is because we had, you know, just a tremendous management team, and Daniela and John and, you know, Nina, and we had a lot of people, you know, Jim Morris, our CFO. And I mean, I could, you know, go on and on. We had, so that, you know, I was really blessed in that regard, Steve. I think a lot of the PR agency principles that you speak to, I'm sure one of the pain points and one of the biggest challenges is always, you know, how does the founder figure out a way to scale the business where it's not 1,000% dependent on the founder's, you know, daily contributions? And it took a long time, obviously, to get there, but thanks to, you know, just a tremendous team I had around us, we were able to do that, and it's put us in a position to make this pivot. I thought also the size we were at, I was looking around, and I thought we were at the perfect size to make this move too. You know, we were large enough where we had the scale and the infrastructure to offer some kind of resources that were definitely valuable to these assets we were investing in, but we were small enough where we could be nimble and we could sort of, you know, make this pivot quickly. We weren't too big where this sort of transformation would take too long to change. So, you know, we looked at all of that, and it was a big part, but it all started with the people. If we didn't have a great management team, we would have never been able to do this.
Yeah, and you won a Best Place to Work, PR Week Best Place to Work nomination, didn't you? So that I guess that's testament to that. So, but you don't have to have a vowel as a last letter of your surname to be in the leadership. Is that, or is that what's the deal there?
Well, Steve, I was going to recruit you, but your name ends in T, so
yeah, I know. I'm disqualified. Is cannabis and cybersecurity, are they still big parts of the client mix, or has that changed a lot?
Yeah, no, look, I mean, at N6A, we've always been, that unit in particular has always tried to be inquisitive, and we've tried to be ahead of the curve in terms of, you know, investing in growth categories before they become mainstream. So cannabis was one you mentioned, cybersecurity, you know, sports gaming is another one that I think we were super early in. And all of this is really a feeder system. I mean, each unit sort of speaks and talks and, you know, synergizes with one another. So as far as the growth units go, we were able to sort of get, and this is the cool thing about running a PR firm, is that your network, your value is really your network. You know, you've built an incredible network, and I was able to surround myself with people who were, frankly, were much smarter than me and were able to see investment trends before they were, you know, mainstream, so to speak. And I was like, well, you know what, at a certain point, if I hear smarter people than me say cannabis, they say cybersecurity, they say blockchain, they say Bitcoin, you know, we might as well start investing in some of these companies, and not just investing cash, but also investing our skill set and, you know, things that we can lend in a unique way. And that's what led us to Group.
Yeah, and you mentioned Office back earlier in the interview. Where are you at with that? I think we're all. I mean, I'm doing the Office thing today, but I'm at home sometimes, so it's a hybrid thing. How are you approaching that as a group?
You know, it's been great. Look, I wish I could say this was some kind of brilliant plan, but it really wasn't. I mean, we were pretty liberal in our approach to coming to, you know, remote work before COVID. We had an unlimited work from home policy before COVID even started. I mean, I think, you know, we really were never, I would say, more than 60% capacity in the office even before COVID. And we sort of had a nice routine, and we had tested out some cultural experiments in the remote setting before COVID. So obviously, just like every business, we've learned a lot and we've pivoted and adjusted, and, you know, we're sort of still learning as we go. But we were fortunate where I think we were probably a little bit more adequately prepared to handle this remote work situation than other businesses, just because we were sort of used to working remotely. I think the biggest change for us, Steve, has really been with the investments in these other companies. It's also created new locations for us. You know, we have an Italian football club We have Repspert we just invested in, which is who are based in Australia. Obviously, N6A is headquartered here in New York. We have a business out in Los Angeles we just invested in. So for me and for the leadership team at the group level, I think that's been probably the most interesting part in terms of the remote work situation. Is, N6A was good from a remote work standpoint, but these other units in terms of getting them to speak to each other and collaborate with each other when they're all over the world, and their DNA frankly was a little bit different than the core N6A DNA, I think has been the biggest learning for us so far.
Let's talk about soccer, one of your passions and mine. So always happy to chat about football. You acquired an ownership stake in an Italian Division 4 team called Campobasso Calcio, I think. They're in Serie D, which is like the 4th tier of Italian soccer. But then in September, you acquired 31% of Ascoli, which is a very famous club, very historical club in the 2nd tier, Serie B. It's been in Serie A. ESPN's got the broadcast rights to Serie A in the US, so I'm sure you're trying to get them up to that level. But what was the thinking behind it investing, apart from just a pretty cool thing to do, frankly?
Well, God, Steve, I know we only have about 5 minutes left. So when we have 6 hours over a bunch of wine,
over a beer,
I'll tell you.
Well, Italian red wine, yeah, okay.
There we go. Well, look,
and some Peronis. Sorry.
So, lifelong dream of mine. I had made a list of 5 goals I wanted to achieve when we started N6A, and one of those goals was I wanted to invest in an Italian football club, and that was really just a testament to my grandparents. N6A, North 6 Agency, now North 6 Group. It's named after the street my grandparents immigrated to. Just my grandparents have just been such a big influence on my life and my career in many respects, is just a dedication to them. So this was one thing I had, set that I aspired to do when we started N6A. It took a long time to get there. It took 10, 11 years to get there. But finally, when we were in a position financially where we could make an investment, look, COVID, hit us, and it sort of just changed my way of thinking. I didn't want to wait any longer. I said, you know what, you just don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. So let's go do it now. And we spent about 6 months running a process. We looked at about 20 different soccer clubs throughout central and southern Italy, near where my grandparents immigrated from. Long story short, we wound up landing on Campobasso, which was in the 4th tier. We got promoted to the 3rd tier. We won our championship the first year of ownership, which was one of the best experiences of my life. There's about 100,000 people in Campobasso. It was the first time when we won the championship, celebrating. It was the first time they won in 32 years. So that was an amazing experience. And then what you find with these football clubs is that they're just incredible networking channels. And we developed a reputation in Italy as this operating company, forget about being an investor, as this operating company that could bring these Italian clubs, which historically, I know you're a Man U fan and a Premier League fan. The Premier League has done a tremendous job of exporting their brands and building market share internationally. In Italy, even the top clubs have done a miserable, job of that. I mean, they've really failed at getting any sort of considerable market share outside of Italy. So we were sort of uniquely positioned as an operating team that could add value to these clubs by opening the doors to international markets, through marketing and media and sponsorship and sales and all that. So anyway, that's what led us to Ascoli, was that Ascoli had a majority owner who was Massimo Pulcinelli, runs the Brickifer Group, which essentially, for your viewers who aren't familiar, Brickifer is essentially the Home Depot of Italy. It's one of the largest retail chains in Italy in the home goods sector. And he recruited me, and he basically said, Matt, we want to do for Ascoli, and we're a much bigger club. And, like you said, 40 seasons they've played in Serie A and Serie B. They're the 4th oldest club in all of Italian football, behind only Juventus and Genoa and Udinese. So this is a real deal, club. And he wanted to do for Ascoli what we did for Campobasso, and basically recruited me. And obviously, there was capital considerations and barter considerations and all this. And then we had also attracted a lot of interest from investors in the United States. Our investor network wanted to put money into Italian football, which is really becoming a, super hot asset class. There's a lot of private equity money going into it. And, we were fortunate enough to have recruited a great investor group. Massimo at Ascoli recruited us as an operator, and we sat down over over a lot of pizza and cannolis and wine. And over the course of 2 or 3 months, we hammered out a deal, and we entered in at 31% ownership stake, and we have options to increase that to 51% by the end of the season. It's been an amazing experience so far.
And you're fifth in the league, I think, at the moment. So
it's crazy. It's so crazy. You talk about in PR, you learn quickly about setting expectations with clients. And the first thing I did with our investor group, I said, guys, this is a club that is projected to finish in the mid-table. There's 20 teams in Serie B. We're supposed to be between 11th and 14th place. And of course, what do? We win our first 3 matches. 7 matches in. We're in the promotion zone right now. Everyone assumes that I was under promising, but I wasn't. Those were genuinely the expectations.
That's great. I look forward to following this story. It's going to be terrific. Can you still have the ownership stake in Campobasso?
Yeah. So it's funny in Italy.
Just quickly, because we're out of time.
Legislation is changing right now in Italy. In a few years, that's likely to change. For now, as long as you own 2 clubs that are not competing in the same league, in the same tier, you're clear. So Campobasso is in C, we're in B. Hopefully, in a couple of years, we'll have 1 in B and 1 in A. That's the goal.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, man. Well, great to catch up. Great to chat, and good luck. And let's hope Ascoli are in Serie A next season.
Steve, can I get a Forza Picchio? That means go Woodpeckers in Italian. That's
Forza Picchio.
There we go. And I got your jersey coming your way too. Right here. I don't have the Barrett one on the back, but this
it's like Juventus. Okay, cool. Newcastle United. Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Take care, Matt.
Appreciate it, Steve. Give my best to everybody.